Happy Furahi Day. How are you doing? And thank you so much for joining. This is the day. We are live on Family TV, also live on Family Radio. My name is Sarah Otieno. Use the SMS line 20316 and talk to us also through the WhatsApp number 0786316316. Well, on Facebook and Twitter at Family Radio 316. Well, did you catch the Jam 316 session this morning? If you didn't, there was a very interesting story that we will be really looking into in the middle of the show. But for now, we get it started with some of the stories that are making headline. Now, the Deputy President William Ruto has rebuked the ODM leader Raila Odinga over claims that the IEBC can conduct a 2 billion Kenya shillings referendum. IEBC has claimed that the referendum would cost 14 billion Kenya shillings, a figure that Raila Odinga says it's outrageous and that only 2 billion Kenya shillings was required. Dr. Ruto today asked leaders to leave independent institutions out of their debates, and he said that people should not keep talking about IEBC, maintaining that even if Raila's brother was put as part of the chairperson, Kenyans will still decide who their president will be. He was speaking in Kangema and Mathioya towns in Murang'a County during a Boda Boda and women empowerment programs respectively. And the deputy president said independent institutions should be given ample time to discharge their duties.
Mimi nataka niulize wale wote, hasa sisi tulio viongozi, kila mtu afanye siasa yake kwa kona yake. Tuachane na independent institutions. Watu wa IEBC wanasimamia mambo ya uchaguzi. Wao ndio wenye ujuzi, wao ndio professionals katika mambo ya kusimamia uchaguzi. Mtu mwingine anatuambia hapo ati referendum itatugharimu shilingi bilioni 2. Mimi nashangaa. Kama referendum ya 2010 ambayo ilikuwa na watu milioni 12 ilitugharimu shilingi bilioni 10, itakuwaje ati referendum hii ya watu milioni 19 ati iweze kutugharimu shilingi bilioni 2? Si ni utapeli? So mtu ya kitendawili awache kutuadaa, na yeye sio professional wa mambo ya IEBC na uchaguzi. Yeye kwanza ndiye alikuwa prime minister 2010 wakati tulitumia 10 billion. Mbona siku hiyo hatukutumia 1 billion? Na yeye ndiye alikuwa anasimamia. So kuna watu wanataka kutudanganya hapa katikati, and I want to tell fellow leaders, let us avoid bringing down independent institutions. That is how we disrespect the constitution, and that is how we cause chaos and anarchy in our country. Na hii mambo ya kusumbuana, watu wengi wanasumbuana na hii mambo ya IEBC. Mimi niliambia hawa watu, hata wakiweka Oburu Odinga awe chairman ya IEBC, bado sisi tunajua mwananchi ndio ataamua viongozi wao. Kwani watu wa IEBC wanapiga kura? Si nyinyi wananchi ndio mnapiga kura? So whoever is the chairman of IEBC, to me it doesn't matter. But let us have a transparent, coherent process that Kenyans can trust.
While still in matters of the referendum, the Orange Democratic Movement Party has claimed that the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission (IEBC) has overshot the referendum budget in order to steal from Kenyans. Now, IEBC has said that a referendum will cost the taxpayers at least 14 billion Kenya shillings, and the ODM party leader Raila Odinga has, on his part, insisted that the plebiscite will only cost Kenyans 2 billion Kenya shillings. And claims that the commission's chairperson has dismissed. And today the ODM Secretary General Edwin Sifuna hit out on the commission, saying that the 14 billion Kenya shillings budget was a planned daylight robbery.
Right Honorable Odinga has never worked for the IEBC. He has never been the commission. He does not prepare their budgets and has in fact been a perennial victim of the IEBC's evil machinations. So his name cannot be dragged into the commission's unbridled greed. The chicken gate scandal has already taught us that what seems like overshooting the budget and wanton wastage is in fact clear manifestation of theft. we are certain that if we left the chicken out of the IEBC's so-called budget, we can deliver a referendum at a cost of no more than Kenya shillings 2 billion.
Rwanda, a country which is the same in size as Nyanza province, which is about 4 counties, conducted an election with an amount of less than 350 million Kenya shillings.
Well, it has now emerged that 17 students and 33 teachers have so far tested positive of COVID-19 since the schools were reopened 2 weeks ago. And this is according to the Education Principal Secretary, Dr. Belio Kipsang, who told members of parliament that 4 non-teaching staffs have also contracted the virus. This comes as the Education Ministry is also working to recall all the other students to join the grade 4, class 8 and form 4 students in schools. And the health CS Mutahi Kagwe gave the green light for mass reopening.
Yes, we are worried because there's no way you can guarantee yourself that you cannot contract COVID or the school cannot contract COVID. Because like we have day scholars, when they leave school in the evening, they have to go home. Whom do they meet? Parents, who sometimes have been in some gatherings that have been organized by some politicians. So we are not really 100% protected, that we cannot the foreign day contract or get kids who are already having COVID. So there's a lot of risk. I would really strongly advise, if possible, that the government looks into it, that we don't have, or the COVID protocols are strictly observed outside there.
We have heard from other or through the social media, print media, that there are schools that are being affected by the COVID. And we hope the same will not come to our side. Could be that is the only fear that the teachers are having, that the COVID might be spread to schools. But basically we have put in place the protocols that we have been advised by the ministry.
Well, just as the cases of COVID-19 are increasing in our country, now the CS for Ministry of Health, that is Mr. Mutahi Kagwe, gave a green light for the mass reopening of schools. Now, considering the high numbers of COVID-19 in our schools, do you think it's the right time for a mass reopening to allow all the other pupils and students to go back to school? Do you think it's the right time for a mass reopening of our schools? Talk to us using the WhatsApp number 0786 316 316, SMS line 20316. Ruth, asante sana. You're saying I'm a silent listener, but today our place is dark because of the dark clouds. However, you're enjoying the show and you hope it's going to be restored soon. That is also our hope and prayer. Thank you, Ruth, for tuning in. Frederick Wakisumu, asante sana for tuning in today. Now, just in case you missed the discussion that was ongoing today on JAM 316 with Pastor James Okumu, and this is in relation to cancer. Well, as we end this month, and remember the month of October is the month of breast cancer awareness. Well, cancer affects a lot of people, but today morning we talked about a survivor of cervical cancer, Carol Nanga. This story is one of a kind, so let us just look back at what she said.
Made the worst mistake that you can ever make when you just have been diagnosed. I went to Google and I decided to Google what was written on those papers.
Yeah.
By the end of that Googling session, I was bleeding. I was sick. I was feeling dead.
What?
Yes, the power of the mind. That is when I learned the power of the mind.
Oh my goodness.
So now that is when now I went back to the same medical cover, looked for the doctors, the available doctors. I called like 4 or 5, the ones who are available. You know, that time you were just, this is something I know, that whenever a diagnosis comes in, desperation kicks in. You're too desperate to get an answer. So I was also like that. I was like, now I need to rush. I need to do this now.
Yeah.
You know that whole thing. And so I went to more than 3 hospitals in a row.
Wow.
So again, now every hospital I go to, I don't tell them I've done a pap smear from the other one. So I was doing I did 3 pap smears in a day, and it was physically it will cause issues. And so again, now I was bleeding, I was in pain, and I was all alone.
You had not told anybody?
I had not told anyone. And why I had done that is because, one, it was related to my reproductive system.
Yeah.
And growing up, I knew some of these things you don't talk about.
Yes.
Number two, when I Googled, I read it is sexually transmitted.
Oh my goodness.
So I knew I must be the worst sinner in this world.
Yes.
And I started looking, where could I have gotten it from? You know, as human, I mean, when you're human, you are always looking for answers.
Mm-hmm.
Number three, I did not want to stress anyone, because around that time, my dad was really sick.
Okay.
He was so sick, so I didn't want to stress anyone. Again, I had grown up being told I'm strong, so I wanted to prove that I'm strong.
Mm-hmm.
So I did back and forth. The test came. I did the first doctor that I saw after the test came, like after 7 days.
Yeah.
When I walked into his office, he was elderly.
Mm-hmm.
He just told me, "Hey, you young woman, we'll just remove your uterus. There's no problem."
Yeah. Just like that.
What do you mean? I mean, you know. It's like, how? It is like, I'm the only child. You, it's okay. You don't need another child.
Yeah.
Like, I asked him, "Doctor, have you checked how old I am? I'm 27. And he told me, "Yes, I've checked, but you do this." And he took his diary. He's not even looking at me. He did not even look at me. He took his diary and told me, "We can book you for theater on Thursday. You just need to deposit 800,000. I'm like, "Guy."
What?
Yes. So
Wow.
I gathered courage and I told him, "Please, Daktari, please give me a copy of my results.
Yeah.
I go and think about it. Because even this money you're telling me, I don't have it right now.
Yeah.
So allow me to go and discuss it with my family, then I'll be back." But by the time I was leaving that door, I was sure I would not be treated by that one. Then total hysterectomy means that we removed the uterus, the cervix, the fallopian tubes, and we were not supposed to remove the ovaries, but I think after 5 years I checked and I don't have the ovaries.
Okay.
So in short, I don't have the reproductive system. So what it meant is that I am secondary infertile.
Mm-hmm.
Biologically, I'm secondary infertile, meaning I am not able to carry my own child because I don't have a space for a child to develop.
Okay.
It also means that I had to go through menopause at 27 years.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay. That's huge. That's huge.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I had a child 5 years before in 2007.
Mm-hmm.
So my child is the reason why. You remember, my mom told me it's okay.
Yes. Yes.
So I thank God. So that is what it meant for me. It really affected me, and this is something that most people don't know.
Yeah.
That it is okay to mourn a part of your body. I did not know that it was okay. I was allowed to mourn what had happened to me.
Okay.
I suppressed it until 2017, 4 years later, when I now fell into a depression.
Wow.
Why? Because I never faced it. I just woke up and I thought I was strong enough. Yes, but I didn't know that this has really affected me, but I did not want to admit it, or even the society did not give me a chance for me to mourn, because they used to tell me, you are better, you have a child, but no one really allowed me to, so when I got into depression and I started therapy, my doctor had to take me to Aga Khan to show me what happened to my uterus, because all along I used to wonder, where did it go? Where is it? Was it eaten by a dog or what? And I used to joke about it, but I didn't know it was a problem.
Whoa, that is one of a story. You look at it, you listen to what Carol is saying, and it's just mind-blowing. Well, she said something very important, that we need to be given, someone who has suffered cancer needs to be given time to mourn. The society should not be discriminatory when it comes to people that have suffered cancer. And there is hope. If Carol did it, you can also do it. Just in case you're diagnosed with cancer does not mean that it's the end of life for you. So spread the message, spread the news of cancer, and always advise people to go for screening. It's very important. Now let's move on to other stories. And the National Cohesion and Integration Commission has urged the media to be at the forefront in enlightening the citizenry in matters cohesion and the understanding of the national values as enshrined in the Kenyan Constitution to promote harmonious coexistence. Now addressing members of the press in Kapsabet during a sensitization forum on hate speech management, Commissioner Engineer Philip Okundi said that the media has the power to influence the populace positively or negatively through agenda setting.
Wana MCAs wa gatuzi hili tukiwahamasisha juu ya semi za chuki almaarufu hate speech na madhara yake katika jamii. Pia ni muhimu tumewakumbusha zile sheria ambazo zimetolewa na National Security Advisory Committee ambayo inasema viongozi wakiwa na mkutano watoe notice ili polisi waweze kuwapatia security ya kutosha. Tunaomba wanaochangia katika mjadala huu wa BBI, whether unaunga mkono ama unapinga, ufanye hiyo bila kuchochea wananchi.
Furahi sana vile commission ya NCIC wamekuja kutuelimisha jinsi tunavyoweza kuzuia vurugu, na sana sana huwa inaletwa na hate speech. Tunajua wamama ndio wengi katika hii nchi, na vurugu ikitokezea wamama ndio huumia zaidi. Maafa ikitokezea wamama na watoto ndio tunaumia zaidi. Kwa hivyo tumeona ni vizuri pia tukifundishwa ndio tuweze kuzuia maafa na vurugu katika nchi ya Kenya.
Well, now to Makueni County, where the Kazi Mtaani initiative has moved a notch higher from the obvious unblocking of sewages, cleaning of bushes, to skills training. And over 3,000 youths working under the national government program, which was started to cushion them from the effects of COVID-19 pandemic, will now be trained on agri-mechanization, entrepreneurship, soft skills, and even folk lifting.
Tunawaambia vijana wetu msikubali kutumika vibaya. Tusisahau ile ethos yetu ama ideals ya nchi yetu. Patriotism. Don't allow to be misused by any politician. Kwa sababu si tumekubaliana already mumegrow kama responsible citizens. So don't allow to be misused by any politician. Wengine kazi yao ni kuwapatia vijana pombe early in the morning, saa 2 asubuhi, ameelewesha vijana. Ati anawaleta mahali, haja kubwa ni kuonyesha ako na supporters. Ya pili, ati kuheckle viongozi wenzake. That is not what we want to see in this country. So don't allow to be misused. Na wakati mtu yote anataka kuwatumia vibaya, wewe ambia yeye, mheshimiwa ni sawa, tutafanya hiyo maneno, lakini kwanza hebu lete vijana yako, bring your sons and daughters so that they can lead from the front.
Now, series of societies on the Building Bridges initiative have today argued that it might threaten the independence of the police and it might open doors for political interferences.
In our opinion, it is not legal or structural challenges that have weakened the critical pillars of police transformation, but substantive governance and resourcing shortcomings. Well, the BBI process has provided the nation another critical opportunity to look at the state of policing in Kenya. It is important that any new reform boldly addresses our common interest in a respectable, professional, human rights compliant service that caters for their welfare. The starting point for any new proposals in policing must be the Philip Lansley Task Force report on police reform, the Philip Work report on post-elections violence, and the Constitution of Kenya 2010. The very essence of our reforms to date has been to deliberately insulate the National Police Service from political and executive interference.
Despite clear direction by the President in September 2018, the government has yet to implement Section 116 of the National Police Service Act 2011 that provides for the IG to have autonomy over the budget.
Policing is a noble profession, The role of the National Police Service Commission is to ensure that the recruitment, training, compensation, deployment, and performance of our police officers matches international best practices.
Well, there we have it. This is Vincent Mulinge, tuned in from Thika. Thank you so much for tuning in today. And this is Ross Judha. Asante sana for tuning in all the way from Garden City. I really appreciate that. We have Christine from Malava. Asante for tuning in today. Lynette from Nairobi, you're saying, wow, that is such an amazing story. And if you want to find out more about the story of Carol Nanga, just go to our YouTube page on Jam 316 and you will get to hear the whole story. It was aired this morning. I have Robert from Kisumu. Thanks for tuning in today. Freshia, asante for tuning into the show and contributing on the topic of the day. And you're saying, I don't think there will be ever a right time when it comes for the full reopening of schools. If we are experiencing a second wave, then who knows how January will be, even if most people prefer them to be opened at that time. The more schools are closed, the more the bars are overflowing every weekend. More political gatherings taking place every day, and more cases of teenage pregnancies. My opinion is we need to open the schools and look for ways to adopt now. I love that. Thank you so much for tuning in today and for sending in your responses, Fresh Away Remo. Now, do not be left out. Tell us what you think about this. With the rising cases of COVID-19 and with the Ministry of Health actually giving a green light for the reopening of schools, that is the mass reopening, do you think it's the right time to have all the other children, all the other students and pupils back to school? There is this guy from Changamwe in Mombasa. Your name is Muka. Asante sana for tuning into the show today. Now, our SMEs have been hit hard with the coronavirus since the first positive cases were reported in our country, that is in March. And here is Washington Mageto, who is the CEO of MagTech Group, telling us the current state of small and middle-sized enterprises.
An SME is a small, medium enterprise. And some of the challenges or the things that SMEs have faced during this particular pandemic period, there was closure of market, there was restriction of movements, there were quite a number of things. And most SMEs did lay down most of their employees for them to be able to survive. And some of them did not actually survive. Most of these particular companies closed down. And so when we talk about the current state of the SMEs, most of the SMEs are gearing to start up within this particular period of time. Some have started, some have formed small and micro enterprises. But one of the things that I believe the government can actually be able to do is to be able to create a stimulus plan. That is the soft loans, the different access to markets. There are particular things that the government needs to sponsor or be able to actually partner with different SMEs on. So I believe in terms of innovation, in terms of Medicare, agri-tech, and the likes, there are quite a number of ways the government can actually come through. Besides, there is so much that the government, I know there are grants that are given through the government, from the Kina KPMG, World Bank, and the likes. So those are the key things that I think the government should be able to push through for SMEs. As well, we can reduce on a few other licensing that SMEs do need to actually operate. We can reduce them maybe to some little fee, or even completely remove them for the sake of establishment of the SMEs. I know the likes of youth funds, the monies that are settled for the youth, those ones as well, the restrictions on more or less all the requirements that are needed on those can be reduced as well. I know there is the aspect of you need guarantors, you need something to stand in for the particular loan that you're taking. And of course, the youths of this country do not have title deeds or logbooks or things of that particular sort. So we need to come back to the reality of where the youths are, and the youths are actually running businesses. Then we see on how can we partner with them in how the government can actually partner with them in different sectors. Most of the ways we can actually sort out our financial problems or the problems that we're actually facing is to create a rapport with the different financial institutions. Most of them would be able to actually boost us or even give us the particular necessary requirements that we need to be able to actually achieve the set objectives of the companies. But I think for those who owe loans to different financial institutions or the likes, maybe we'd need to figure out how the government would be able to give them a soft landing spot, or even the monies that are owed to different suppliers or people who've traded with government. That particular money needs to be released to them as well. I think that would be the first start for SMEs to be able to kickstart and grow back to where they needed to be.
Well, there we have it. I know it's a critical time for SMEs, most of which are being shut down because of the effects of COVID-19. But if you can be able to stay afloat during this time of the pandemic, then according to what Mr. Mageto is saying, then you can be able to move forward and make profits. All right, 3 people have been killed in a knife attack in a church at Nice in what the French President Emmanuel Macron says is, and I quote, an Islamist terrorist attack. And he said France will not surrender its core values after visiting the Notre Dame Basilica in the southern city. An extra 4,000 troops have been deployed to protect churches and schools.
Chaos and terror in the heart of another French city. Streets closed, swarming with police and paramedics, the stunned aftermath of France's latest horrific attack. It took place around 9 in the morning in the city's neo-Gothic Basilica of Notre Dame. Shouting Allahu Akbar, the attacker stabbed 3 people, including the caretaker. One of the victims is thought to have been beheaded. Another, a woman, fled to a nearby cafe before dying.
We heard many people shouting in the streets, so we saw by the windows that there were many policemen coming, and then we heard gunshots, many gunshots, and more policemen.
The city's mayor called for unity, but said it was clear this was terrorism.
Nice, perhaps more than any other place in France, today is paying far too heavy a price by once again being a victim of Islamic fascism. There is no doubt about the meaning of this act.
Well, let us continue praying for the people of France. Now let's head over to Tanzania, where Tanzania's incumbent president is poised to be declared the overwhelming winner of Wednesday's election, despite the widespread allegations of fraud, while the governing party appears to have secured 2/3 majority in the parliament required to change the constitution. Now, populist President John Pombe Magufuli has 83% of votes, while only 60% of the ballots have been counted. The Electoral Commission said this today. Now, the ruling Chama cha Mapinduzi party has won 194 seats in the 393 members parliament, while opposition parties have managed to win just 2, with the leaders of the 2 main opposition parties losing their seats.
Watanzania na dunia inafahamu jinsi ambavyo tulifanya kampeni kubwa na ya mafanikio makubwa sana. Mimi pamoja na mgombea mwenza wangu Mheshimiwa Salum Mwalimu tulifanya mikutano ya kampeni mingi kuliko aliyofanya mgombea urais wa CCM, makamu wake pamoja na waziri mkuu combined. Tulifanya mikutano katika kila mkoa wa nchi hii. Mahali pekee ambako hatukuweza kwenda ni kule ambako tulizuiliwa kwenda, aidha wakati simamishwa kufanya kampeni kwa sababu za kijinga tu, au mahali ambapo tulizuiliwa kwenda kwa sababu ya kukataliwa kutua au kupigwa mabomu na vitu vya aina hiyo.
Now, still in March's election, with just a few days until voters cast their last ballot in the U.S. presidential election, the top candidates were focusing their campaign's effort yesterday in the southern eastern state of Florida. Biden criticized President Donald Trump amid the coronavirus pandemic for holding packed rallies where most attendees were not wearing face masks, calling them super spreader events. Now, Trump, addressing a large crowd in a stadium parking lot in Tampa, again predicted heavy Republican voter turnout, a great red wave on November the 3rd.
Trumpets, all colors, guys.
In Florida, Donald Trump fans are feeling confident.
Sleepy Joe about to get destroyed by the Don? Donnie!
But the polls are tight here, and in a last-minute scramble for votes, Trump and Biden faced off in Florida.
We are going to win Florida. We are going to win 4 more years in the White House.
If Florida goes blue, it's over.
At clashing rallies, they told the faithful why they're the best man for the job, in a state of millions which in the past has been won by a few hundred votes.
Do you feel that people sometimes treat you negatively when you say you support Trump?
Yeah, I do.
What happened?
I just get weird looks. A lot of people my age say not nice things, and they just say mean stuff. And
like what?
They ask, why do you like a racist? And they don't ever say why he's racist. They just make assumptions.
A few miles away, Donna and Beth are on the trail for Biden.
We're trying to save our democracy. We truly feel that that is what's on the line.
What sort of tensions are you seeing? How's it playing out?
A lot of use of the F-bomb, especially, and being called baby killer. That's a key one for the other side. And then the physically getting into our space, like waving their banners.
You're pushing it. Have you ever seen America this divided?
No, not this. Oh, no. And I'm going to tell you, I'm 73 years old. And I have never seen America in this bad a shape.
For some, the fight for Florida has become a bitter grudge match. The Sunshine State is in for a stormy time.
Well, there we have it. November 3rd, that is the day that the U.S. people and citizens will be deciding on their presidency. Now, when we look at the COVID-19 situation in our country, just before we end the show, we have 1,185 new cases of COVID-19 in our country today. And out of that, 17 more fatality cases have been reported. 17 more have succumbed. And on a positive note, 272 people have recovered from COVID-19. This even as the numbers in Belgium continue to increase, and right now they are recording up to 40+ positivity rate. That is in terms of percentage.
Belgium heard the second wave coming, but it's hit harder than anyone expected. This is Liège, the city where more COVID tests come back positive than anywhere else in Europe. Patients sharing hospital rooms, a healthcare system on the brink of collapse.
It was a distressing sound. The patient inside is clearly in some discomfort. This small room, 2 COVID-19 patients are being treated, trying to make sure they don't end up in the ICU. But as we're standing here, we're seeing ambulances roll up outside through the windows.
Belgium is now in the midst of a deadly second wave of COVID. The positivity rate in Liège is a whopping 41%. Health professionals in the country are sounding the alarm, warning if the situation persists, it's only a matter of days until the country runs out of ICU beds.
And this is what you call the war zone line. Yeah. That's the war zone. Yeah. Do you really think that the second wave is going to be worse than the first?
It is. It's already worse.
It's already worse?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, of course.
Staff shortages are so severe, Dr. Sasha Guisen is one of the many doctors who had to keep working even after he tested positive for the virus.
And it's an ethical dilemma, really. And, usually in the ethical dilemma there is one bad option and one is worse. And sometimes we feel that, is there any more good option?
There are no more good options.
No. But because we have to take care of these patients, and it's better having you COVID positive, asymptomatic with your complete protective equipment than nobody.
Well, and even on our screens as we watch that story and that doctor explaining, it's important to note that this is one of the doctors who is asymptomatic, but because of the high positivity rate, up to 40% plus, 40+%, he was forced to treat other people despite the fact that he tested positive himself. Just because he is asymptomatic and they are understaffed, he was forced to put aside his pain and whatever he's going through just to help other people just get through COVID-19. This is a call to action. We all need to remain very vigilant. Put on your masks, sanitize, wash your hands, and maintain social distancing. Because yes, COVID is here again, and it's affecting and killing people. 17 people in the last 24 hours. That is not a small number. So take care of yourself. Thank you so much for tuning in to the show today. My name is Sarah Otieno. I pray that you have an amazing weekend, and I will see you on Monday.
And more of our shows, log on to www.familymediaonline.com to enjoy a wide variety of programs, from current affairs to testimonials and features, pastoral and inspirational shows, kids entertainment, and so much more. Also stream live on www.familymedia.tv.